Alright, so this is episode 15 of ComposerCast, and I've been away for a little bit, and gone a little bit away from video game music, and I've started up my guitar teaching business again, so I'm sort of focusing on that a bit more at the moment, but I still want to carry on with the podcast, and so this episode is going to be about essential chord theory, and I'm going to base it around guitar, and so you'll hear the guitar play a few times in it. So, music theory is one of those things that a lot of musicians, and I'm looking at you, guitarists, a lot of musicians like to avoid. Most of the reasons I've heard is stuff like it will reduce their creativity, or it will box them in with too many rules and regulations. But I see music theory as a tool that allows me to write and learn music a lot faster, and I can make conscious decisions about what I'm playing, or what I'm writing. So I'll be coming at this from a guitarist standpoint, but you should be able to transplant it into any musical venture. So whether you're writing music for video games or films, everything will still make sense. You'll be able to use it all across the board. So you only need two notes to build a chord. Right, and chords, they might look incredibly complicated, especially on guitar, but when you get right down to the core of them, they only need two notes to function. So there are 6 strings on a guitar, which is why it can look like your fingers are spread all over the place. And like you've just been told to play, I don't know, a C minor chord, something nice and easy. Something like that. But because you got the 6 strings, your fingers, there's like 3, 4, 5 different ways of playing the same chord. So it can look very complicated. So knowing how chords are built will help you come up with interesting and perhaps, well, I hope, better sounding guitar parts. So the first thing we want to have a look at is the major scale. Now the major scale is built from the following intervals. You've got a root, a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. And some people put, names before those, so you've got like a perfect fourth and a major third. But I just think of it as root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Keep it nice and simple. So on a guitar, the root note, if you're starting from an open string, would be open. The second would be on the 2nd fret, which my guitar is a little bit buzzy there. And the third is going to be on the 4th fret. And the 4th is going to be on the 5th fret. Then you're up to the 7th fret for the 5th. And you're on the 9th fret for the 6th. And 11th fret for the 7th. And then you can play on the 12th, which is your octave, and you're back to your root. So, chords are made using the root note, the 3rd, and the 5th. So if we look at a C major chord, these notes would be, you got a C, an E, and a G. So the C, that tells us what chord we're playing. The E tells us it's a major chord because it sounds happy, it makes the whole thing sound happy. And the G in the chord, well, it doesn't really do much. It just makes it sound a bit fuller, and that's about it really. So we could quite easily get rid of the G and still be left with a happy sounding chord. So if you take the 9th fret on the G string, which is an E, and you play it with the 9th fret on the B string, which is going to be a G sharp. So just from that, you've made an E major chord, and you only needed 2 notes. So with guitar, I think less is quite often more, and these 2 notes could be a great way of playing an E chord without kind of muddying the mix and making it all crowded. So you just got 2 notes. You got an E and a G sharp. And that'll be the same. You can, again, translate that to any instrument, even on piano, whatever you want. 2 notes can be a really nice way to play a chord. Major and minor chords are only 1 note different from each other. Following on from the previous section, let's have a look at minor chords. Again, the shapes on guitar can look quite complicated, but become a lot easier to understand when you realise they're exactly like the major chords, except you've got a flat third instead of a major third. The simplest place to see this is with your open D chord shape. So starting on the open D string, you've got a root note, which is your D. Then you've got a fifth on fret number 2 on the G string, that's your A. And you've got another root note on the 3rd fret of the B string, which is another D. And then you've got a major third on the 2nd fret of the high E string. That's going to be your F sharp, and that's what's going to make the chord sound happy. But if you just move that third down 1 fret from an F sharp to an F, then the entire chord becomes minor. So you've got a major with that 1 note on top, and then a minor, you just change that 1 note, you move it down a fret, and you've got a minor chord. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is definitely about guitar, won't help too much on other instruments, but this is the cage system. So we know how chords are made and how easily you can switch between major and minor chords. So now we need a simple way to play them all. The cage system, it allows us to only learn 5 shapes, and then we can build everything else from there. So if you learn your C chord, and your A, and your G, and your E, and your D, so that's your 5 major chords, and then if you learn your 3 minor chords, you've got A minor, E minor, and D minor, which is the one we just did. All of these shapes can be turned into bar chords, and that will allow you to play anywhere on the neck of the guitar. So this is useful if you want to keep your playing sounding smooth, because you don't want to be jumping around all over the neck. Like, you don't want to play a chord up on the 7th fret and then have to leap all the way down to the 1st fret. So for an example, let's take our open C major chord starting on the 3rd fret. So this is obviously, that's a C shape. And there are 4 ways to play this chord. We can move it up to the A shape, which bars across the 3rd fret, which would sound like this. The next shape would be a G shape, which starts on the 8th fret, which is your C, so that's on the low E string, and it bars all the way across the 5th fret. There we go, got my G shape. Alright, then we've got the E shape, which lots of people know, and it's kind of the guitarist's favourite. So that will again be on the 8th fret and barred across there. And finally, we're left with the D shape, which has the root note on the 10th fret of the D string. That one's quite nice, but again, with all of these, you can see that they overlap each other quite a lot, and they let you use the entire neck, but you can just pick out little parts of them. So it's again finding that root note and finding that either major or minor third to pick out whether you want it to be a tiny little bit of a major chord, sounds happy, or turn it into a C minor chord, sounds sad. So in conclusion, at their simplest, chords are made up of only 2 notes. Major and minor chords, they sound very different, but they share all the same notes except for one, and the cage system will open up the entire neck of the guitar for you. Knowing the chord principles will make guitar playing a lot simpler and will give you more creativity to choose the right notes. And this can help every aspect of your playing, and it can carry over to new instruments you might pick up in the future. So I hope you got some value from this podcast. It's another short one, but I thought I'd bring the guitar into it this time. And if you want to follow my guitar teaching sort of business that I've just started up, it's on Instagram. It'll be instagram.com/pickupguitarlessons. And I'm just trying to get it on Google Maps right now and all that other boring marketing stuff, and it's just called Pick Up Guitar. But yeah, go follow me on there, and I'll try and do some more, and see you on the next episode. Bye!